I am very genuinely excited to talk about this movie because this has honestly been my most anticipated movie of the year. Since it was announced, I've been looking forward to it just because, I love romance movies. I love A24. I love Andrew Garfield. I love Florence Pugh. You put all of that together, and that just sounds like a dream come true to me. Like, two of my favorite actors in my favorite genre of film from one of my favorite film studios. It's a match made in heaven. And then Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, they presented an award together at the Oscars, I think 2 years ago now. And that was just like a glimpse into their chemistry. And then we get the trailer, which still, every time I watch this trailer, it makes me cry. And if you think you're not gonna cry watching this movie, oh, be prepared because it is gonna happen. I'm tearing up just thinking about it right now. Um, I cried so much during this movie, for so many reasons, and it, yeah, I love this movie so much. It was just such a beautiful film. Um, because again, I love romance films. I love love stories. I usually prefer rom-coms, romantic comedies. And there's certainly some comedy here. There's some really funny moments. But it is for the most part a romantic drama. And but it's held together so beautifully by this just wonderful chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh because it's oftentimes hard in films when you have two actors that are so recognizable on their own to actually be able to feel that they sink into their characters, but they do so seamlessly. You don't see Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield here, you only see Tobias and Almut and their beautiful love story told throughout time. And kind of the message of this film is that your life can flash before your eyes. And the whole idea is, do you waste your time trying to plan for the future? Or do you look at what's right in front of you and enjoy the time that you have? One of the interesting things about this film that really kind of makes it an A24 film that gives it that flair is it's not a traditional uh, romance drama movie where it's told in sequence. This film is told very much out of sequence. So, and it is one of the things, like, the one thing that I didn't like about the movie, and it was really only for like the first 5 to 10 minutes that I felt this way, and then as the film went on, I grew to love it more and more, is because it is told out of sequence. Is that you go from one moment, Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh's characters are married, to the next moment, it's them first meeting, and then back to Andrew Garfield being single again, going through his divorce prior to meeting Florence Pugh's character, and then you flash forward to they have a kid, and it's very jumping back and forth, which I knew going into this, and at first I will say it was a little jarring, but like I said, I also grew to love it throughout the film because at the beginning of this movie, it is very back and forth, semi quickly, which I do think is mainly just to establish that that is a thing, and also to really right up in front present you with what this story is because the story of the film is in the trailer and is told in the first 5 minutes, but it's the journey that we see with these moments spanning across time with these two characters and their relationship. And as the film goes on, those cuts between time are spread out more and more, so you get to spend more and more time with each of these just wonderful, wonderful moments. It was just so fascinating. One of the things I loved about Andrew Garfield's character in this film, and he said this in interviews, is he feels that his character of Tobias very much kind of takes on the female character that you would traditionally see in a romance film, where he is more in touch with his feminine side and planning for the future. And he's the one that's taking care of the kid most of the time while Florence Pugh's character is off working, because she's a really, really talented chef in this film. There were some great scenes here that just reminded me of The Bear, which I love The Bear, so loved hearing some Yes Chef from Florence Pugh. That was great to see. And yeah, I just very incredibly related to Andrew Garfield's character, especially with some of him talking about his previous marriage and going through that divorce, and again relating that to myself as well. But also, and you know, we'll talk about this first. Like I said, there's a lot of comedy in this movie. Well, not a lot, but there's some really funny moments sprinkled throughout. You can see glimpses of that in the trailer. One of the craziest moments is the scene where Florence Pugh is actually giving birth. It's definitely one of the most unique birth scenes that I've seen in a film before. Definitely nothing like I've ever seen. But it was absolutely fascinating and so hilarious. But also, because it is her giving birth, it's still such a beautiful, wonderful, heartwarming scene. And then you come to this culmination, where again you travel through the journey of these two meeting. They fall in love, they get married, they have a kid, and then, and this is not a spoiler, if you've seen the trailer then it's not a spoiler, but if you haven't seen the trailer then I guess it is a spoiler. But in this movie, Florence Pugh's character is diagnosed with cancer. And so, again, this is all presented in the first 5 minutes of the film, so you see the whole trajectory of this story, where it's going to go, where it starts and where it's going to end up, and you can kind of guess how it will end. Obviously, this is a non-spoiler review, so I won't actually say it, but that was another really emotional part for me as well, having just lost my father to cancer a few months ago. So those were certainly some more heavily emotional parts in this movie for me as well. But just all of it together, there's those elements, but also the romance elements got me also. There's some great moments of just Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh being parents, which was just lovely to see, because that's something I know that in the future I want, is to have kids. I want to be a father. So to see elements of that here in play was really just wonderful. And yeah, it just really made me think about my life and what I want and the future, but also, again, not looking too far ahead into the future and making sure that you focus on what is right now, because that was one of the biggest things with Florence Pugh's character, Almut, and her cancer diagnosis, that basically, they can go through chemo and all of these treatments with the chance that it will work out, but there's also the chance that it won't. So if she only has 7 months left to live, she'd rather spend that time making them the best 7 months of her life rather than wasting them being miserable with just a small chance of survival. So yeah, it's a really just so beautiful story. Like I said, I cried a lot throughout this film. I mean, most of it was pretty much just I had, water seeping out of my eyes and on my eyelids. But the final scene really got me though. That was when the tears started coming down, because there's just one of the things I love about this is, again, it's a very sad movie. You are going to cry, but they don't. I mean, the way the movie's written and presented to you is designed to make you cry for sure, but it's not like there are scenes in the movie where Andrew Garfield or Florence Pugh's characters are sitting there crying and as a movie it's begging you to cry with it. That's not necessarily what it is. The thing that got me the most was the final scene where there was just, I'll say, a few callbacks to earlier in the film, and that payoff, and just it got me good, and just such wonderful performances from both Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. I mean, again, they're two of my favorite actors in Hollywood, so I expected nothing less than that. But it really was so good. I doubt that they'll get Oscar nominations or anything for this because nobody's really talking about this movie, unfortunately. That was one of the things I really hated, is because like it's such a limited release, which I don't understand. Because the movie, like, official release like 2 weeks ago, but was playing nowhere near me, and then was supposedly that's when it got a limited release, and it was supposed to get a wide release last weekend, still playing nowhere near me, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere this weekend it starts playing at the movie theater I work at. So took me a while, but I'm glad I finally got the chance to check out this film. And again, I hope more people get to check it out as well, because it is really just a great, beautiful film that I think everybody needs to watch. And, you know, hopefully Oscar buzz, because totally both of them deserve it. Both of them, I believe, are Oscar nominees. I think it's time they win something. Still disappointed Andrew Garfield didn't win for Tick, Tick, Boom. Maybe this is a chance. Their chemistry is so good. So good. It's awesome just even watching interviews between Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. Like, it's not just their characters. Like, in real life, they have just such wonderful chemistry together. And just seeing that on screen here in this movie was truly wonderful. And I loved it. Like I said, this was my most anticipated film of the year, and it honestly may be my favorite movie of 2024 so far. And I mean, there's some good movies coming out in the next couple months before the year comes to a close, but I don't know if anything will top this for me. I really loved We Live in Time. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you see We Live in Time? What did you think about it? Do you think there's some Oscar potential here for Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh? Let me know in the comments below. Also, did you cry? I guarantee you did, because I know I did, like, a lot. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and hit the subscribe button so I keep up to date on everything that goes on in the movie life.